Salutations to you and to you and to you, and of course to our audience this morning who is listening or watching or seeing or viewing us. I am New York Vinnie channeling this morning James Mason, the late great actor who had a very distinctive style. Yes, he was. Of course, his great movies were. He played the evil head of the law firm in The Verdict with Paul Newman, which was one of the great unsung movies of all time.
And he was in the first A Star Is Born.
And of course, Lolita, which was a very risque movie for its time. His relationship with a young, way too young girl.
Yes, she was, I should say, was playing out of his league, don't you see?
Well, he was, yes, but he thought he was. It was a precursor to the 90-Day Fiance. They must have watched that movie, the producers, and said, we could get a franchise.
I want you to say with a straight face, it's not about the money, it's about love. Go ahead, try that.
Yeah, it's not about money. It's about the love, my dear.
No, that was try more sincerity if you can, or less if you must.
It's not about the money, love. It's about the love, not the money.
It's cut, print.
This is my director, Michael Knight.
I'm down here in Los Angeles. We're in California. I don't know if you're having it in Seattle. I assume that you are. Today is the day of the King Tide, and it's coming up in about 45 minutes at 11:02 a.m. Pacific time.
The King Tide. All right, Mikey, explain to the unindoctrinated what in the world the King Tide is.
That I will. The King Tide is a high tide affected by the sun and the moon, both at their closest spot to the Earth in the entire astronomical year. So the sun and the moon are closest to Earth at this time. That allows the high tide to come, which is going to be like 7+ feet in San Francisco. It will go over the seawall at the Embarcadero at 11:02 a.m. this morning. What it's going to do in Los Angeles, we'll have to wait and see. We don't have seawalls that abut directly on the wall. We have strands that run along, but there's a large section of beach between the strand and the actual Pacific Ocean. So
right, it's the strand. It's gone a long way.
It's gone a very long way, much further than is necessary, much further than James Mason would have gone under the similar circumstances.
Absolutely, my friend. Absolutely.
So 11:02, don't you see? That will be the King Tide time, and if that's gonna be the way it is in the Puget Sound, here comes the tide.
So we should probably, well, we will be on, because now we're kind of doing. The great thing about life here is you make adjustments when you need to. At least intelligent people do.
NASCAR doesn't.
Well, yeah. Well, we'll get to that in a second. So we have adjusted ourselves to come on and hit you at 10:10, only because it's such a groovy number.
It's such a groovy number.
Yeah, 10:10 wins New York. It's got such tradition to it. And what was Whoa 10:10, that big blowtorch out of Indiana? I think,
WOWO.
Yeah, no, WOWO. Whoa.
Yeah, WOWO.
Oh, yeah, I thought you said WL or something. Excuse me, my ears are not. My ears have added another year onto them here. So.
Well, can you hear me now?
No.
I'm channeling.
Should I ever hear you?
I'm channeling the great sports commentator Biff Jiggerman this morning, and I'll tell you this, Whitty, it's going to be some kind of a game.
It certainly was. There were many games over. First of all, how was your New Year's, Michael?
Quiet. I couldn't even make it to 10 o'clock.
Really?
Nope. And I didn't hear a single firework.
Well, we had fireworks. I don't know if it was fireworks or gunfire. We're close to Linwood here, so gunfire could
same
be.
Same thing.
Yeah. And I got to what did I get to, like 1 o'clock?
The interesting thing about no fireworks for this year was that 2 years ago, the fireworks started at like 9 o'clock in the evening and went until 2 o'clock in the morning, where everybody was blowing off their fireworks on their own, independent of any organization. And it went on for hours and hours. It was a completely unknown, heretofore unexperienced event around all of Southern California. And it just was no one could believe it was continuing. But it wouldn't stop. They just kept blowing off fireworks, cherry bombs, anything you got, bottle rockets, everything into the sky. And this year, quiet, very quiet, don't you know? As quiet as James Mason might be when he's speaking intimately into your ear, telling you a secret that only you will hear.
Only. Well, Michael, it was, we had it was quiet. A friend and I took a ride up to Chuckanut Drive, which I'm sure you remember is this beautiful little drive. And it was, just packed with snow all over the place, which made for an absolutely beautiful, if not at moments treacherous, drive.
Were there any landslides? I mean,
no
avalanches.
landslides. There was some absolutely awesome waterfalls.
Ooh, nice.
And, iced over. And,
Sure.
The purity of the snow, because I guess it had snowed the night before up there again. So all the, and I guess just a lot of people that aren't used to driving in snow up here decided that it would be a good idea to drive on Chuckanut Drive.
No.
Where I, with a 4-wheel drive, and had no problem, had a nice Toyota RAV4 Prime, and which is our drive time car of the week, road test car of the week.
And what's the name of that car again?
That's a Toyota RAV4 Prime. So it's a plug-in hybrid. It's a great car.
And it has 8 wheels instead of 4?
No, it has 4 wheels, but you don't have to prime it.
It comes primed.
It comes primed.
Is it pre-primed?
It's pre-primed. It's primed to the perimeter. To the perimeter.
Is it primed right in terms of a king?
Try that again. It's primed to the perimeter.
Perimeter. It's primed to the perimeter.
It's primed to the perimeter, Michael.
All you need to do James Mason is put a great deal of air around your words and be careful with the vowels, but much more air than as usual.
Quite so, my friend. Quite so.
I also do a Kid Rock, but more about that later.
Yes, let's do it. Yeah, let's talk about it. Anyway, it's a hybrid, a plug-in hybrid, which means that you have to plug it in to charge the hybrid part of it, and therefore, it presents again a problem for me, because I seem to have problems when I go to charging stations to charge these cars, and I don't know what it is. I've set up accounts with the major charging facilities, but this time I got held prisoner at a charging station, and we're going to talk about this more on drive time.
It wouldn't let you unplug?
It wouldn't let me unplug when the charger didn't work. And so, my big question is, and I'm already starting to research this, what happens in a case where you feel, let's say you're a woman alone at night and you're charging your car, and not even at night, in the evening, in the day, or let's say you're a disabled person or somebody, or just a regular person, and somebody, for whatever reason in this crazy world, comes up and tries to attack you. You can't unplug your car and go. You have to wait for this process and maybe make a phone call, but there's no just grabbing the thing, and it's no emergency button, as there should be, that says, if we can put a technology in a car today, on a computer, that you put your fingerprint on it and it opens up the computer.
Right.
Why don't we have that technology for the charging dock? So that if you put your fingerprint on it, or you put some kind of something on there, it'll immediately let you abort the The car.
Now,
The charging system.
who is responsible for that system?
There's a company called Electrify America.
Oh, good.
And these guys and gals, or whatever they are, who knows these days,
Is James Mason a member of the board?
I don't think so. I think James Mason might be well passed on, but he is. It's a scary situation, and I'm going to, I'm going to try contact Electrify America today and try to find out exactly what the hell is going on, because again, if you have to, when you're at a gas station and something goes wrong, all you do is pull the pump out, you jump in your car, and you go.
You go.
Pull the nozzle out.
There you go.
It has to be comparative for electric. And especially in the world we live in today, where, people get assaulted at night. People say, and if you can't fill up your car at night, if you can't charge your car at night, you're running into a problem.
Why can't you just, were they checking your account when they refused to let you unplug or didn't allow you to unplug?
The machine, they said, was somehow malfunctioning.
That's for sure.
But I've had this experience before, that once you start the charger, you can't unplug until the charging is finished.
Wow.
And there's no simple way to just stop the charger. Even if you stop the charger,
you can't cancel.
The plug won't pull out right away. The person that the probably 22 or 23-year-old person in his basement handling customer service that evening said to me that, well, we design it that way so that nobody will come along and unplug your car while it's charging. I said, well, that's all fine and dandy, but what happens to somebody who is being attacked? Do they just drive away dragging the charger down the street, and that attracts the police? I mean, is that the the idea? Is that the system here?
What did he say?
Well, I'll submit this to my technical department, which means as soon as I got off the phone, he'll erase it.
He got pizza.
Yeah. He'll so, but I'm going to pursue it because I think and I haven't heard anybody talk about this anywhere. And I think there's got to be some answers here.
There's certainly a question that has yet to be answered. That's for sure.
Yeah, it seems to me to be a major design flaw in these systems. Now, I don't know. I'm going to go out today and try another company's charger and see if that does the same thing.
Is that Biff Ziggerman Associates?
Yes, the BJA chargers, which there's actually only one in Washington.
Yeah. And is it in Redmond?
No, you have to go to Duval.
It's in Olympia. It's in Wenatchee.
It's in Wenatchee, yes, where there's one electric car, one electric charger. But it's I don't know, it's just a crazy situation.
It's a system that hasn't been thought out, obviously.
Well, yeah, and they're going to put, hundreds of thousands of these charging stations up all across America.
You can put one on the Embarcadero and the king tide will wash it away, don't you see? But you'll still be plugged in.
Is the king tide related to King Vidor by any chance?
Similar wording, but no.
Alan King?
Should be, but no.
Billie Jean King?
Partially because of the San Francisco connection, but no.
Okay, just checking.
The King sisters? No.
The King, oh yes, the King Family Christmas Special.
Double no.
My former optometrists in Jackson Heights, King and Sobel, related to either King or Sobel?
No.
All right, just checking.
Okay.
All right. So now you wanted to delve into something that bothered you about NASCAR, huh?
There was a race
talking about cars.
NASCAR's got a problem on its hands. A couple of weeks ago, an underground way of saying "fuck Joe Biden" took place when Bobby Brown, is that his name? Brandon Brown was won a race, and during the interview, the crowd was chanting "F Joe Biden, F Joe Biden," and the announcer said, "What they're saying is, let's go Brandon. Now that became shorthand for F. Joe Biden. Let's go Brandon. It's been used on television. In fact, don't you remember President Biden
Yeah,
was,
we were talking about it a couple of shows ago.
President Biden had an interview with the family, and then the last thing the father says was, let's go Brandon, which is, and Joe realized what had happened, but the idiots let that guy on the air. So that's really
Right,
Biden's fault.
yeah, right. The classy move in front of your kids of teaching them to disrespect not only the president but an elder. Yeah.
So now Brandon Brown is accepting the sponsorship of a company that wants to make the slogan "Let's go Brandon" part of their marketing. NASCAR has accepted that sponsorship, and now they've got their hands full with a terribly sick side of their sport. NASCAR is if you want to call NASCAR a sport, it is an institution, it is an entity, but I don't know if running around in circles with a bunch of rednecks is considered a sport. It's not a sport in some towns, but in the South, it's considered high society,
high entertainment.
And there we have it. Can we make a underground statement? It's like Timothy Leary's dead. You know, let's all take acid and get our and sponsor Levi commercials with Timothy Leary's dead, buy your Levi's. That's one example of using something that's related to the product, but meant to say something else.
Yeah. Wow, there's a lot to unpack there. Well, let's start with NASCAR. If it is that, I don't know.
Brandon Brown, by the way, the driver said that Joe Biden is not his president, that Donald Trump is.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Well, then I think NASCAR and all sports leagues should stay the hell out of politics.
They don't do it very well.
They don't do it very well. I mean, you know, we had this whole thing about Georgia last year. And so the Major League Baseball pulled their all-star game out of Georgia. And you know what? I didn't agree with it. Only because I really don't want, I'm kind of getting, I want a space in my life where there's no politics.
Good luck, Vinnie. Good luck.
I know. And sports used to come as close to that as you could get. I mean, you had, the individuals every once in a while. You had the John Birch Society people with the Padres. And you had, of course, Colin Kaepernick and so on and so forth. But I'm starting to really loathe the displays. I mean, I'm also a person that doesn't believe that the national anthem should be sung at the beginning of a sporting event. It's not it's not a patriotic rally. It's a sporting event.
And there are times in our history when the national anthem is a very divisive time at the beginning of a baseball game.
Well, even if it's divisive or not divisive, I don't think the national anthem should be divisive. I think it should unite us and we all should sing it. And that's great if we're at a Memorial Day thing or a this or that, or, some kind of civic, thing, event. But at a ball game, you have people that are spitting, cursing, scratching their nuts, doing everything that, that kind of, well, I guess it does kind of show America, right? Spitting, scratching, and drinking.
America, the home of the high hard one.
Yeah. And so, I don't know. It's just always, it's never seemed right to me, except on a special occasion. If you want to sing it on July 4th, you want to sing it on Memorial Day, you want to sing it on Veterans Day, you want to sing it on
Christmas,
those types of days. But this jingoism of because that's not what it's supposed to be. If there's a war on and you want to do it, I guess that's okay. But I don't know. I've just seen too many people when the Star Spangled Banner is going on, just like doing something else or looking at elsewhere, or stay out of the. It's always everybody in the press box stands up and looks at the flag. And I don't
I
know.
always I do that too, but only if there's free hot dogs.
Yeah, I think they're going for healthier choices these days.
Tubes of death, and okay, I'll take a Philly cheesesteak sandwich,
It
but it
always
has to.
shocked me. It always shocked me that the Yankees, that were the most rich franchise
How much do they want
in
for a meal?
Major League Baseball, used to charge for their hot dogs in the press box.
How much?
$1. I mean, it was only $1, but still, do you need the dollar that bad?
And were
Oh,
they good hot dogs though? Were they Hebrew National or something?
I know. No, I think they were high grade. I think.
I don't know what Dodger dogs are, but they're like 12 inches.
Oh, they're not cons.
Jimmy Dean.
No, 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 no. Boy, oh crap,
Oh,
man.
oh boy, Oberto.
No, 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 no. They're a familiar supermarket brand down there, or they used to be. I mean, who knows what's changed um, over the years? But I know.
You can't change Dodger dogs. It's the same thing. If you remember when the new ownership came in, the organist for the Dodgers said, "Well, they haven't contacted me, so I get the impression that they don't care about me, and that's the end of my career." And the uproar was immediate and vociferous. And the Dodgers apologized and invited her back and said, "No, you've got a job, and this is forever. You must play the organ, and please return, and please accept our apology." And it was a landslide of opinion about this, which nobody expected, really, when you think about it. But it shows how the Dodger fans and baseball fans in general love that part of tradition. No, you don't play the Ramones between innings. You play the organ.
That would make me love the Dodgers just for that. I mean, I am so sick of going to a sporting event and having my ears blown out. Um, by rock and roll. I mean, I don't mind. I mean, I hate the walk up thing. I just it's a ball game. Loud. And the worst offender is easily the NBA, except for the clown that they have for what is it? Is it SoFi Stadium?
Yes,
Uh,
that's football.
yeah. Have you heard the guy at SoFi Stadium?
Oh, the DJ.
Yeah,
Let's
just
have
yeah.
it.
What is that?
It's a terrible idea put into practice.
Who the hell was thinking of that?
Well, it's the type of thing that would work at the NBA that won't work at a football stadium.
Well, yeah, in the NBA, I think you need to pump people up until the last 3 minutes. I don't know about a football game, Mikey.
Well, speaking of football,
yes,
it looks like the naysayers and those doubters are all back on the side of the Seattle Seahawks, and their quarterback and their coach and everyone else is just fabulous.
Yeah, well, putting up 50 on somebody will do it to you, won't it?
Winning cures everything. You can ask the Jets.
Yeah, well, they wouldn't know what it means. Snatching, I mean, I think they actually at probably some point thought they were going to win that game yesterday.
Not when they were warming up.
Oh yeah, I think they thought we got Tom Brady this time. We're gonna we're gonna Eli Manning him.
We got him right where we want him.
Yeah, and he was playing with him like a freaking cat with a little ball, just knocking him around. The Seahawks.
Did you see the game?
Yes, I did see the game. It was just a show. Rashard Penny put on a clinic. Let's not forget that they were playing the Detroit Lions.
Let's not forget it for a minute. Certainly the Lions didn't forget that.
Right. And there was a few moments there in the fourth quarter where I started thinking, what happened last week is going to happen again this week. But all that said, and I think we talked about this in a show ago or two ago, teams have bad years.
Yes, they do.
Teams have off years. When you have the odds alone of 10 winning seasons in a row, and then, the odds are you're going to come up with a bummer every once in a while. You don't change everything because a bunch of players had a bad season. You fix Vinnie, problems.
There's two teams that you know very well, Seattle and Pittsburgh. In Seattle, they solved every problem by fire them all, get rid of them all. He's done. He's finished. I can't stand him. We don't even want football in this town. Tear down the stadium and put up downtown parking. In Pittsburgh, it's leave it alone. It's going to be better next year. What about Ben? Don't worry. The Roonies will fix it.
Yeah.
It's going to be okay.
If there's, Kevin Colbert, who's the general manager of the Steelers, a wonderful guy, smart as a whip. He always seems to find those players that fit the team.
Right.
Now, you can
and like
better than others.
And they are willing to let guys go, like Antonio Brown. Let him go. You don't belong.
Yeah. You had to let Antonio go. I mean, and we'll get to that in a second. But for me, leave it alone, man. Go out and get the pieces that you need to make it better. Make sure Russell Wilson stays. The guy is hurt.
Yep.
He's coming back from an injury that has put, I forget what other quarterback with a similar injury, out for the rest of the season.
Jimmy Garoppolo,
thank you. With a similar thumb injury that Russell Wilson went and got screws put in his hand.
And came back too early.
Because I don't know the reason why, to be honest with you. I guess Geno Smith just wasn't doing the trick.
Well, the Seahawks backup quarterback played for the Vikings last night, if you saw that game.
Yeah. I did not see it, but so all of this, one of them's got to go. One of them's got to. There's why you have team harmony. You have people that are, you don't have situations where people are backbiting with each other from what you can see. Let it be, man.
Not only that,
pieces you need and let it be, and that's what the Steelers do, and that's why they are successful. Although, see, everybody is spoiled in football now because they want a dynasty. They don't want to win just 1 year. They now have to win several years in a row, the Super Bowl, even if you don't win the Super Bowl. Now, the Seahawks got to the Super Bowl 2 years in a row. And 3 out of 10, I believe. If you go from 2005 to 2015. Go look at how many other teams have gone to the Super Bowl 3 times out of 10 in any period of time.
Well, it's easy to forget. And I know the Seahawks fans are famous for their loudness and their dedication, but not maybe so much for their memory. It's not easy to put together a winning team. And
right.
it's not easy to be a fan when you have a losing team.
Right.
But if you overreact, you're going to do what the Sonics did, which is let's fire George Karl before we know who we're going to hire in his place.
Right.
Let's get rid of Mike Tomlin. Who are you going to hire? We'll figure it out later. Most important thing is to get rid of him. Oh, really? Well, we'll see. We'll see how you feel about that in the third quarter of the first game. The replacement factor of a team means that the offense changes, the defense changes, the coordinators change, and you have a year of adjustment at every element of the team, coaching and playing. Now, that's not a healthy situation for any team in the NFL,
right.
Especially with the stability that you see in Arizona and Green Bay and Dallas.
I think, as in college, football, in pro football, there is a calmness, a sense of continuity when you have a stable front office, stable coaches, when people know what they're going to deal with, when they know what they can expect. They don't have to worry about, well, I'm not going to play for this coach, or I'm going to wind up playing for this coach or this coach or that. Let's face it. Now, do the Seahawks need to improve things? Yes, without a doubt, the Seahawks need to find some people.
When it's time to improve, if you don't start at the offensive line, then you don't know what improvement means.
But fans, listen, Michael, fans, all of us, we got big mouths. And we don't know the inside situation.
And
we don't know
memory,
what's going on in the front office. So we form this opinion either from sports radio, from guys like us, or from people who supposedly know. But in my, I don't know how many years it is I'm doing sports now. The one thing I've found out is that you don't really know a hell of a lot. You don't always know why or how or what the situation is. And that the people that are running these teams, for the most part, are fairly smart. You don't get those jobs. I mean, every once in a while, one comes along where you sit there and say to yourself, gee, what's this guy?
Yeah, this is going to be ugly.
Yeah, you can tell that this isn't going to be pretty. But, it goes back to me to Woody Woodward. Mm-hmm. Old Woody. Remember old Woody Woodward?
Sure do.
General manager of your Seattle Mariners. And I mean, it was relentless chopping on this guy. Relentless. He was cursed and he was this and he was that. But good Lord. Look at what he was dealing with. He was dealing with, every time he grew a superstar, he had it, or a star, he had to trade him.
He could hardly sign Alex Rodriguez before he was gone.
Yeah, people don't remember that whole debacle of signing Alex and with his sister.
And he wanted $1 million.
Yeah, he wanted $1 million to sign. The Mariners weren't going to give it to him.
And they didn't.
And he had the right agent.
Yep.
And finally, they figured it out. They worked something out. But you knew at that point, but it wasn't Woody Woodward that didn't want to give him $1 million. It wasn't Woody Woodward that had it that wanted to trade Tino Martinez to the Yankees. It was Woody Woodward who was told you can't keep everybody after 95.
Here's what we can afford. Get rid of the rest.
Right. Get rid of the rest. Get what you can.
Now, who's going to take Kyle Seager's place?
Somebody.
Yes.
I guarantee you they're going to have a third baseman out there.
You got to have an infield, right? As I understand
the rules say you have to put 9 people out there. So they'll have somebody. I mean, they brought in Adam Frazier. They brought him in, who I remember from Pittsburgh. And I think the guy's a stud. I think he's a great player. I think he fits the personality of that club. I think the Mariners are going to be all right this year. I would put, I would throw a 10 on him to get to the World Series.
And what was Seager's batting average for the most part?
Well, he was a good clutch hitter. I mean, I think it was a 260, 270 hitter. He had some power. I don't have his stats in front of me, but he was a clubhouse leader type of guy. He played for the team for 10 years, which, in this day and age is a miracle.
A double lifetime.
And he was one of those guys in my watching. He was a Jay Buhner.
He was a James Mason.
Yeah, he was a James Mason. He was a guy. Yeah, he hit 212 last year. but 241. He's a career 251 hitter. I think he probably had some years where he was around 270.
But 212 last year, really?
Yeah, hit 212. 2020, I think he was hurt in 2020, if I'm not mistaken. It was only, I mean, I don't even look at the stats for a 2020 season, really.
Is he the type of guy to retire and then re-sign with somebody else?
I don't think so. I think I would think that that's it. It would surprise me. Really, yeah. I mean, his best year was 268 as far as just batting average. He had some nice home run seasons. He hit 35 last year. So he was a good corner player.
Yeah.
He was exactly what you want in a corner player. He was, he put double figures up in doubles all the time. You get doubles.
Doubles. That's
You
good.
get double figures in home runs. And you hit above 250, 260, 270. And
you're a star.
I think that for a corner player, for third baseman, and you defend. I mean, I think now I have to go back and compare, but I think his stats over that period compare favorably with Adrian Beltre.
Well,
who people are talking about for the Hall of Fame.
The theme of a third baseman is he's got to have a good glove, good arm, and power. That's what we want from our third baseman in professional baseball.
Right.
And he fulfilled two of those, and he was a steady, reliable, gutsy hitter.
And again, I go back to a team leader on a club that, if you're there 10 years, the second 5 years and you haven't won anything,
right,
kind of wears on you.
And but you say, should I give it another couple of years and still not win anything?
Right. I don't ever remember him. And again, I was in Pittsburgh for, most of his tenure. I mean, I remember him the year I left. He was down in the minors and people were talking about him. In 2009, and he was one of those upcoming stars that you always hear about.
Hot to watch.
Yeah. Keep an eye. You have the baseball card with the three guys on it. Rookies to watch, or so, players to watch. So he's got nothing to be ashamed of. I think he'll go into the Mariners Hall of Fame because he was certainly there. You could make a pretty good argument that he was their best and most long-lived third baseman. Although I know he played second base earlier in his career.
Those Seager brothers, put him in the infield. Give him a spot.
Yeah, meanwhile, his brother probably told him, look at the load of cash I got. I'll give you, 25%. Why go out there and hurt yourself?
If you take care of the house when I'm on the road.
Yeah, you stay in the house. But I'm sad to see him go because I think that the Mariners are going to do something this year. I think they've put it together enough to be competitive and to clean up some of the mistakes that they made last year. And I think they got a great bullpen. Bringing in a Cy Young Award winner that you hope is going to just be able to do something similar.
It makes you could be talking about the Seahawks right now with your with your estimation of it. And the Seahawks, if they can't establish a running game with their offensive line, which also is there to protect the quarterback, they're not going to grow. They're not going to get better. And that, it seems to me that is where we have to start. We have to start with a couple 300-pounders who are swift and know their onions about the offensive line.
Right. You got to open your gaps for the running backs.
Yep. And you have to
And,
have a running game. You cannot compete without a strong running game.
and you have to adjust for the eventuality, which the Steelers never did. Ben Roethlisberger, they never seemed to adjust for the eventuality that the quarterback should not be running as much
Well, Ben,
in his older years.
look at his legs. I mean, my God, he can't run to the corner to get a quart of milk.
No, I mean, you're going to see Ben in one of them scooters
Yeah.
at some point. Just you know, but the guy plays his butt off. I'm really starting to think now that we're going to see Ben Roethlisberger's last game in Pittsburgh tonight.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that listen, he's got all the money he needs. He absolved his early sins in his career,
His foolish years.
his foolish years. I think, I know the guy personally. I did a show with him for 3 years. And I think he's really seen, early on, he saw the handwriting on the wall. He did something stupid, and it could have cost him his career.
Right.
And instead, he said, okay, I'm going to live, I'm going to turn my life around here. I'm not going to get caught in the bathroom with, all this kind of stupid stuff that young idiots do.
Yep. Young idiot millionaires.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's done it. I think he's a shining example for that team.
Rarely do teams have the ability, because it's so expensive, to keep a quarterback like Roethlisberger and start the rookie and let him be the teacher and the backup and the advice giver, the quarterback's whisperer.
Well, yeah, and I think it would be, I will say this. I would love to see if the Steelers I would love to see the Steelers get Kenny Pickett, the kid out of Pitt that almost won almost got the Heisman. He was one of the finalists.
I saw him play in a bowl game.
Yeah, I would love for them to get Pitt, to get Kenny Pickett, and to keep Ben for an extra year.
It's expensive. He'd have to rework the money.
Yeah, they have to rework the money. But if you could do that and have that tandem, that one guy, it's always what I thought they should have done way back when the Seahawks. And I don't know if you remember me even saying this on the air. I said it several times. The Seahawks, when they made the mistake with Rick Meyer, is they should have, at that time, Joe Montana was a free agent, remember?
Yep, went to KC.
And I thought that the 49ers, the Seahawks, should have signed Joe Montana to a 2-year deal and had a mentor, Rick Meyer, both out of Notre Dame. At that time, many said the greatest quarterback that ever played the game. He's been eclipsed by Tom Brady, but at that time, Montana was the bag of shells.
Yep.
Close place. Montana would have brought people in just to watch him.
Yep.
At a time when you could get a ticket to a Seahawks game for nothing. And maybe Rick Meyer's career with the Seahawks would have turned out a bit differently.
He needed mentoring, and he needed help. He was not a bad college quarterback. That's why he went number one.
Right. And he was somebody that showed, but he had no offensive line.
No.
He played behind what I used to call a Swiss cheese offense.
And he didn't come from a college program with a pro set.
Right, exactly. And I just, if I could turn back the hands of time for Rick Meyer, I would have, listen, the coaching situation was crazy too. I mean, you had, Tom Flores and his cast.
If I could turn back the hands of time.
If I could, oh darling. But so the Steelers hopefully will take that tack. We'll renegotiate Ben down, keep him around for a year, and figure out a way to draft Kenny Pickett. I don't know what their draft order is going to be yet. They're still in the playoff mix.
And there's a lot of quarterbacks out there.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of special quarterbacks. And Kenny Pickett is a special quarterback.
Well, you never know how special they're going to be till you give them a chance. Like the kid from LSU that's at Cincinnati, Joe. Oh, I can't think of his name. He had a fantastic game yesterday. He's had two 500-yard games back to back in
Yeah,
passing.
yeah,
Joe Burrow.
yeah. So I hope that that's the way the Steelers go, and I hope that the Seahawks, absolutely keep Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson around.
If you want to recover from this season, then you've got to keep you got to keep many things intact.
It's one bad season out of how many?
And think of the parity in the league, Vinny. Anybody can come to town now, especially in the West. You got to play Arizona twice. That's no picnic. You got to play the 49ers twice. You got to play the Rams twice. You got to play the East Coast teams in their turns as the season develops. There's no giveaways. There's not enough Detroit Lions in the schedule to make it easy for you.
Yeah,
And one mistake in the third quarter will cost you everything in the game. One turnover.
Well, and what the Seahawks need to do too, I think, and again, I don't know if it's just because they're out of it, there's no hope or what, is they can't let teams come back on them like they have been, and this is something that the Seahawks have had a problem with as of late, is letting teams, when you have a team down, you're up 30 points. You can't let up. You can't. This is not a game where you can let up on somebody, because it doesn't take that much. How many times are you watching a game and all of a sudden, bing, 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 they put 21 points up on the board in a space of, 8 minutes.
It happens more than you might expect it to happen.
Yeah,
and it
I'm
happens
sure
when
there's geeks out there that can give me stats on that.
Well, it happens when great teams get on the track and they put it together, and the defense can be good, but defenses have a very difficult time stopping the dynamic NFL pro set. It's just something that it's almost impossible to stop.
Yeah,
it'd be like the Rose Bowl game.
From so many different angles, I hope that they keep Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll.
And if you keep Russell Wilson and bring in a new coach who brings in a new offensive coordinator, you got a mess. You have got a mess on your hands.
It's worked before. Let's keep it. Now, if you want to design different plays, if you want to give Russell Wilson some if you want to, you want to lean more on your running backs. But let me tell you something. As you saw yesterday, Russell Wilson is a better quarterback than 98.9% of the quarterbacks in the league.
Right.
He's better. So a fully healed and fully rested Russell Wilson is going to give you nothing but good.
And don't expect him to learn a new offense in the offseason and everything to be seamless.
Right.
It'll be a nightmare.
And if you can't take a losing season as a fan, well, you know what? You're not a fan. I'm sorry. I know that the Steeler fans expect to win the Super Bowl every year, and that should be the expectation. But there's expectation at the start of the season, and then there's reality. And the reality is not bad for the Seahawks right now. The reality to me is not bad at all, as they've got a core of young, gifted players. And they got a head coach who people will run through fire for. And if you got that, and as long as you got a quarterback that can do the things that Russell Wilson can do, you got a shot. You're in the conversation. I mean, you want to be a Jets franchise where you're not even in the conversation at the beginning of the year. You just exist for other teams to play, like the Seahawks used to. People forget again around here that the Seahawks used to exist solely for the pleasure of other teams coming in and playing them. 8 times a year.
That Chuck Knox was a great coach. Well, not when he was with the Seahawks, okay?
They had some great teams, good teams.
They had some great players, but not a
Had some
great
great
team.
players. I mean, Kurt Warner,
The running back who sells cars in Bellevue.
yeah, Kurt Warner, right, the running back, not the. I don't think he's selling cars in Bellevue. I think he's doing something else now. I think he might be down in Portland. I just, they solely existed for people to come in and beat up on.
Yep.
They were a joke franchise, and finally they got legitimate in the 90s when Mike Holmgren came in. And by 2005, they had finally gotten to the Super Bowl and learned what a lot of teams learn, I think, in the Super Bowl, is that
Should have stood in bed.
yeah, well, that sometimes it just doesn't go your way with the referees. One of the unfortunate parts of.
Ask Colin Kaepernick about how wonderful the Super Bowl can be for the other team.
Yeah. It's so that is as they say, that's that. Let's talk about Antonio Brown, because he is the talk of the NFL and
Please,
the sporting world today.
Please take your medication, Antonio. Please.
Yeah, again, it's a kid I know from when he was a kid, from when he came into the league. He was part of the Young Money crew with the Steelers. You had Antonio Brown, Emmanuel Sanders, and I'm trying to think of the third guy that was in that mix. And he is a wonderfully talented and gifted player. But he has something. He's, he just so reminds me of Dennis Rodman.
Yeah. But Dennis Rodman could get the rebound even on his worst day.
Right. Well, Antonio Brown can too. Antonio Brown will run the ball for you. He will do magical things for you if he has his head straight. But it appears to me that this guy's head isn't straight.
Well, not when you won't go in the game. If you won't go in the game, what can you do?
Right.
What can a coach do?
And 4 teams have had him. 4 teams have let him go. And when you have that much talent and the team lets you go, because Mikey, in sports as well as I do, that there is a coach out there somewhere that thinks that he can get Antonio Brown to play for him.
But remember, the Raiders and the Patriots let him go without having him ever take a snap.
Yeah. Well, it was such a disruption in the locker room.
With the Raiders, if you remember, he wouldn't wear the right helmet. Right. He wanted to wear a different helmet that the league would not approve. So he couldn't wear the helmet that he insisted on wearing. Now, who goes crazy over helmets?
Well, that's why I think the guy has, and again, we're gonna dive into the Simone Biles thing here a second. I think that Antonio Brown has some he exhibits to me traits of some kind of mental illness.
A little bit of schizophrenia.
And the best advice I could give this guy, if he would have called me up and asked me his advice, and I don't think he's going to, but it's early in the day, is that forget about football for a year. Go get your head straight.
Stay in shape.
Stay in shape. Get your head straight. Take a year off, or however much time you need. Go and find out what's going on with you.
Why can't you control yourself?
Right. Why can't you control yourself? Why can't you be like all the other kids? You don't have to be like all the other kids exactly, but you have to be like all the other kids in that you have to follow the rules.
You have to be a member of the team for whom you play.
Right. Go. You have the money. Go to the best therapist in the world. If you got to fly to Germany or Switzerland or New York, wherever you got to go. Go find your peace.
I wonder how much thought he gave to his tantrum, Because if the written reports are classic, after he took off his shirt and danced through the end zone, he went to a security guard at the gate and said, "Can you take me to the airport?" And the guy said, "No, I can't take you to the airport." So he had to get into the dressing room to get his wallet and his clothes, and then somehow make his way to the airport on his own. He did not fly home on the charter.
Yeah, well, he's not a member of the team anymore, so
He is not.
I think they cut him right after the game, so they didn't have to take him back on the charter. I mean, I'm sure that the league rules say that they have to take him back. Flying back to. But I mean, it's easy to look at a man that does this kind of thing and say he's just nuts.
Right.
But why is he nuts? Why is he doing these things?
And why is it always in important games that the pressure creates these situations where the team needed him? They were behind. They were losing miserably. They were going to mount a comeback that was pretty historic for Tampa Bay, and he wasn't going to be part of it. In fact, he was a distraction. He did not add to their comeback. He subtracted from it. He made it worse.
And and listen, I'm a big fan of Bruce Arians. Former offensive coordinator for the Steelers. And I think he's a great coach. I'm glad he got a shot in Arizona and made the most of it. I'm glad he went to Tampa Bay. Even though I'm not a big fan of Tampa Bay and Tom Brady, I'm still a person that looks at Bruce Arians as just a solid meat and potatoes kind of guy, regular Joe who coaches football. But I think Arians thought that he could, he had the key to Antonio because he knew him back with the Steelers. Bring him in. I know how to work him.
I think Brady felt that way too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, see, I think it's natural for us to think that we can rescue somebody, that we can bring them in and help them out. And, how many times?
Gesundheit. Gesundheit, meine Freund.
How many times are you driving down the street, you see a homeless person, say, gee, if I could only take that person home and give him a bath and give him some clothes and give him a little money and help him out, right?
Wrong.
You have to get to the core of the problem. It's why we have failed so miserably with homeless people in this country. It's because we're not getting to the core of the problem of mental illness. So if you have Antonio Brown, and okay, we'll make him better. We'll give him money and we'll give him a new uniform and we'll give him a shower and get him all right. It's more than that. He's not going to be right until he faces whatever demon it is inside of him.
And there's a lot of control in the football world. You have to be someplace every day at a certain time. You have to go at a certain time. You have to perform at a certain time. No one cares what's going on with your family or your personal life. It's game time. You've got to play for the team. Right. A lot of people are not able to structure their mental adjustment. And obviously he was one of them. I don't know if we have the story right, but if he refused to go in the game, why was he leaving? Why quit a team that you moments before said you weren't going to play for? You'd already quit. He had already performed an act that would cost him his job. Time to go in the game, Antonio. Nope, not going in.
Well, it wouldn't have been Antonio Brown, though. You see, this is a guy that enjoys making a spectacle.
Yep.
I mean, that's part of it right there. He enjoys. I mean, this is a guy that was caught on Route 19 in the middle of the day doing 90 miles an hour. And arrested for reckless driving and reckless endangerment. And, he's the ultimate look at me guy. And again, and maybe, you know what? Maybe somebody ought to call Dennis Rodman and say, hey, can you give Antonio a call and maybe he'll listen to you? Because it sure looks eerily similar.
I think until he gets some form of medication in his system to calm his mind, it's not going to help. I mean, Dennis Rodman, yes, could help. Somebody, a professional, could help, but if he doesn't take the prescribed route to getting a healthier mind, then it's not going to help him. He's
Right,
not
but
going.
there
He's
is
not
a
going to
risk with
recover.
that. There is a risk with that, Michael, and the risk is his mental makeup is what in some ways gives him his edge.
Well, he's going to have to make some compromise there.
Yeah, he's got to save his life.
Yep.
He's got to save his life, Michael. I mean, at this point, this guy is, and I remember us sitting in the studio at KJR in 1993 or something like that, saying the same thing about Dennis Rodman. Is this story is going to end tragically? We're gonna find him in a parking lot in Detroit somewhere with a gun in his mouth.
Or in North Korea playing basketball with Kim Sung Un.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to end well. Now, thank God we were wrong. And I don't know if it was getting to the Bulls and Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and Phil Jackson, and everybody kind of putting him in that arena with those people that straightened Rodman out. They didn't completely straighten him, I mean, and they were able to get him straight enough to play ball without him losing his edge and to become a champion, to become a world champion.
Yep.
And somebody needs to do that with Antonio Brown. Forget about what team he's going to go to next. Forget about this. Forget about that. Stop with the memes of him, with the, running back to Pittsburgh with the no clothes on and all of that kind of stuff. Forget about that. Right now, in my opinion, you're making fun of a sick man.
Yeah.
And this guy needs help. He doesn't need people making fun of him, although that's going to happen. He needs somebody to find out. Now, there's another little piece of this that has been brought up, and there's no way to know. And that is he suffering from early stages of CTE?
Could be.
Now, there's no way to know until
has he had serious concussions in his career?
He's had, I remember he's had several concussions. And I don't know if there's a way. I don't think that there's a way right now that they can tell if you're alive. They have to take your brain out and,
I think they could do a brain scan and make some determination.
Well, you can do a brain scan, but I don't know that they can pick up CTE yet. I don't know that they can find it in a brain scan. Maybe things have advanced. I know that they couldn't when I was in Pittsburgh. So what's that? 8 years ago, 7 years ago, they couldn't.
They didn't help Junior Seau.
Right. Well, this was, this has been one of my pet causes since, when I got to Pittsburgh and I saw what was going on with this. We had a guy there, Dr. Joe Marone, who is one of the leading experts in CT. And actually, I'm going to try to get a hold of him and see if maybe he'd even come on the show and we could talk to him a little bit about it, get educated a little bit more about it, because it's taking, if they've had several college players kill themselves. And when they got these people to autopsy and they were allowed to examine their brains, they asked the families if they could take their brains and examine them, and they did. All of them were found to have CTE.
It's a progressive disease. There's no treatment for it. And once it begins, it only gets worse.
And it comes from the repeated hitting of your brain up against your skull.
Yep.
Your
sloshing around.
Right. Your brain floats in your skull in fluid. And no matter what kind of helmet you have on, you cannot stop the movement of the brain forward and backward and sideways into the skull.
And that affected the Rose Bowl when the quarterback for the Utes got his bell rung, as they say, and had that 1,000-yard stare and never came back in the game.
Yeah, there's no way you can stop that. And I thought by now, to be honest with you, that the game of football would have, the NFL would have come up with something. I mean, they've come up with improved helmets, and I'm not a doctor. I don't know everything about this, but I've talked and read enough about it to people that know to know that the one thing that's not happening still is the brain is still moving inside the head.
Right. And in the case of the quarterback I'm talking about, Rising with the Utes in the Rose Bowl, his injury came from hitting his head on the ground after a tackle.
Yeah.
So there was no one necessarily at fault with the type of tackle that he suffered. He just hit the ground, and that was a grass field. But the punch or the effect of that blow took him out of the game. Period.
It's something that's going to have to be looked at, Michael. But the average fan doesn't care. I think the average fan says, you know what? He makes $10 million a year or $8 million a year. That's the price he pays.
Let him get a new brain when he retires.
Well, the problem is we're seeing more and more that they don't get a new brain when they retire. They keep the old one, and then they start. It's not a funny matter, but they start to do things. I mean, that you would not normally see out of a sound and reasonable person.
It's a form of dementia.
Wife abuse, kid abuse, strange things, memory loss. I mean, and I don't know, maybe we don't listen. I wonder about this country because we have, 800,000 dead from COVID. And we're still looking to open up the schools this morning.
I know that the Goldman Sachs now is saying everybody works from home. Don't come into the office. And that's their New York office. But they're thinking about doing that with schools again because.
Yeah. I mean, Seattle School District had a day off today to go get COVID tests.
Let's get them. That's the only weapon you've got, COVID tests.
That's a failure of the Biden administration, Michael. I mean, as much good as they have done, their biggest failure, and you can't blame this on Trump, is for them not to have mass distribution, use the Wartime Power Act that everybody said Trump should have used to have people making these COVID tests.
And there's one test that's unreliable and one test that's more reliable. So let's get the reliable test to everyone.
Your mailman should be dropping off a COVID test in your mailbox
today,
every day.
Yeah.
Every day you should get one until this thing is over. And if you have it, you stay home. If you don't have it, go about your business. Simple and quick. And whether it has to be that you report it to some kind of entity or whatever, but I think that's the one thing that hasn't been done and hasn't been talked about that needs to be done. The U.S. Post Office, forget the COVID tests out and into people. If you want to grab a pack of 7 for a week, you go to a community center, you go to a health clinic, you go to a hospital, you go to a drugstore, you go to any one of these places.
Except now we have a national shortage. You can't get a test anywhere.
That's because you're not making them. You sat there for a bunch of months. Everybody. I mean, everybody. Listen, I think. Listen. Joe Biden has his failings too, and I think that this is one of them. I think it should have been the first thing he did when he got into office is to order the production of these tests.
And why didn't he get that advice from the CDC? Why isn't anybody supporting the solution here?
Well, I think that Fauci has been saying that. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I kind of remember Fauci saying all along,
get a test.
The tests are going to be the key. Vaccination is the key, but you also have to have testing because there are going to be a large number of people who aren't going to get the vaccination. And these people need to test themselves every day before they go to work, before they go to school, before they go do whatever they do.
And the killer part about the Omicron is it will reinfect people who have even had the boosters. And they may be asymptomatic, giving it to one or two people without even knowing that they were a carrier. And
Right.
that can't be allowed to happen.
Right. Thank God that it doesn't seem to affect the lungs, from what they say, as much as the Delta or the original. But when you can fight something and you look around and other countries are doing it, why aren't we? So we have this disregard for human life, that is this callousness toward human life, that we've become desensitized.
And regardless of what methods you use to fight this thing, there'll be 30% of the population that won't follow it. Even quarterbacks are involved. Wentz and Aaron Rodgers taking deworming medicine, but won't take something that will help them.
Well, listen, it's a fight that you're not going to win. There are going to be a certain amount of people, no matter what, are not going to take it unless you want to go Russian style,
Chinese style,
or Chinese style, and you say, we're coming to your house at 2:00 and your ass better be there to get the shot, or you're going to go to a place that you don't want to go.
Fresno.
You've heard the stories about Fresno. Let's see. What do we have here? Oh, something just came up on my computer screen. President Trump, silver 1-ounce round coin.
Oh,
can I put you at $29.05? Can I put you down for two?
Absolutely not. What I want is the James Mason commemorative silver piece.
The fact that just looking at a coin with Donald Trump's image on it is enough to make me throw up.
Did they get the hair right? It's very hard to get.
Oh
the
yeah,
hair
no,
right.
they got the hair takes up like 3/4 of the face of the coin. It's like a little face with all his hair.
And the thing is, it's not silver; it's just a coating of a Budweiser can.
Yeah, I'm sure that's everything they say it is. So, all you great Trump fans, run out and get your Donald Trump commemorative coin from Silver People right now as we speak.
And get a copy of the Kid Rock song "Don't Tell Me How to Live."
Oh yeah, is Kid Rock at it again?
Kid Rock is on the list, Variety's list of the worst songs of the year. "Don't Tell Me How to Live," Van Morrison's "They Own the Media." That's his song. And Aaron Lewis's "Am I the Only One," which is a story about going to war over the removal of Civil War monuments from the Confederacy. Worst songs of the year.
Well,
no, you're not the only one, Aaron, is the answer to your question.
As we
James Mason would be there and he would not sing that song.
Yeah, as we talked about time and time again, music, listen, we were treated to it last night on CNN with Carole King and James Taylor. Music that inspired us. I mean, can you imagine somebody putting out "You Got a Friend" right now? You're laughing, but how many times did we ride along in a car and sing that along to the radio with somebody, or identify with that song, or tell people you got a friend? I mean, it was gospel to us,
right?
In the 70s, those songs were gospel. Maybe this is the way the country is right now.
Well, James Taylor was lucky to have Carole King in his band because she was the better songwriter. Carol, you got a tune? Yeah, I got a few. I got something here that you might want to. Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow?
Yeah, well, yeah, just a wonderful evening. Just a wonderful, just took your mind to a different place, man. It's really interesting to see how many people were taken to just a different place in their lives.
Yeah.
By that, I was blown away last night. I mean, I don't know about you. I was in tears when they were singing "You Got a Friend." I just went back and I thought about so many of the people in that period of time in my life that were so important to me. You know, matter of fact, I'm still this is funny. I'm still in contact with the girlfriend I had when Tapestry came out.
Whoa. She had a copy, no doubt.
It was the only record we played. It was, I mean, I remember how many times we played that up in we used to hang out with this girl, Anania. And it was me, this guy Kevin Murray, who's passed away, and another woman named Tina, and Mary, who was for a short time. She dumped me after a week or two, but she was, one of my first real girlfriends. And that album, we just played and played and played it. It was like just so phenomenal. It brought us a togetherness, a peace. I don't know. I mean, we also had a lot of alcohol going at the time too, but
but it was a type of music that absolutely hit its time in history. It was the perfect time for it.
Yeah. It just came out. The war, people forget the war was still going on. Nixon was president. I mean, it was a lot of. You think times are weird now? You should have remembered. Remember back then. It was nuts.
In fact, it was described as the same thing for Bruce Springsteen when Born on the Run came out. It was the timing for that song with those songs, with those lyrics, with that meaning, with that band was perfect.
Right. They spoke to the moment.
Right. The zeitgeist.
Right. And luckily they were good musicians. Now, I guess those songs do speak to the moment, not maybe the way we look at it, but they speak to the moment of what we have now. And I'll take those moments back then over these moments now any day of the week.
The future that we face in terms of the threats to democracy are so monstrous that if we don't meet them, and we have to prepare for them now, that if we don't meet them, our future in terms of history will be take a very ugly turn, uglier than we have it now, and challenge the remainders, the survivors, to put it back together again if they can.
I absolutely think that we need to, we do absolutely need to meet these challenges, Michael. We need to somehow, some way, whether we're older like us or younger like our sons and daughters, or even our grandsons and daughters, and granddogs, might I add, because I don't want to leave.
And James Mason.
And James Mason, who would be abhorred. I mean, absolutely aghast at anything that may show us here where we are heading. It's not the good direction. It's not the salient way that we approach our problems these days, Michael.
It'd be a regular feature on the Mikey and Vinnie show when we're on 10 to 2 in Seattle. What does James Mason say? James, how do you feel today? I am appalled.
I'm tip top, Michael. Thank you.
Top of the pops. Top of the pops.
By the way, before we go, let us say goodbye to the call letters Como.
No.
Yes.
Why?
As part of the deal, because we love to keep you updated on local media stuff, as part of the deal with Sinclair, when they sold the radio stations to Lotus, Sinclair wanted to keep the call letters and would not sell the calls with radio. So Sinclair will keep the call letters, Como AM, Como FM.
Como Television.
No. Well, yeah, they have Como Television. And I guess, I mean, as I look into it and think about it, I mean, it's probably because they don't want the radio station to be identified with the television station.
Right.
You know, many people still think that Cairo Radio is owned by Cairo TV.
Those days are gone.
Even though that's been not the case for, 20 years, 25 years. But Sinclair probably didn't want to, and I don't know for sure, but Sinclair seemed like they didn't want that to happen.
What's the new calls?
So they hung on to the calls. And so as of, I think, I don't know if it was yesterday or upcoming pending approval, Como is now KNWN.
Well, that's a mouthful.
For Northwest News, which is eerily similar to KKNW.
Yeah.
Which is the station that I'm on.
That's a mess.
Yeah, I think it was 90 years.
As 1,008. Yeah.
Yeah, I think their anniversary was the 1st of January when they signed
KNWN. KNWN. Oh, that's not so bad.
KNWN, yeah. Northwest.
The hard part is the W. Don't say W. Say W.
You have to say W. KWN.
KNWN.
KNWN.
1000 AM. KNWN.
The news leader of the Northwest.
Okay.
Should you want to find out what's going on, Michael, I suggest you turn your dial to 1000 on the amplitude magnification dial.
James, I must say, I'm appalled. 90 years means nothing to these peons.
You don't, Michael, you don't have to be appalled at it. You can just be upset.
No, I'm appalled.
All right, that's today's edition of James Mason Said. And that's today's edition of Mikey and Vinnie. Should we get back together Wednesday morning for another run at this, Pally?
I say yes.
Oh, James. Huh.
You started it.
Hey,
I want you to know Vinnie started it this morning before we went on the air. He was talking. Everything was James Mason.
You have to. I got James Mason. You have to do Winston Churchill or something. You got to come up with another British guy.
All right, I'll work on my Winnie.
Yeah, work on your Winnie. Come up with some. Some. Can you do a Michael Caine?
Maybe it's slightly Cockney.
Yeah, I got a little bit of. Yeah, I got or even a Paul McCartney.
John Lennon had a more distinctive voice. I don't know if I can do it. We'd like to thank you, and we hope we pass the audition.
I'd have to. Oh, look, it's hailing out. Hey,
hail,
Klopstokia.
All right, Vinny, I'll see you Wednesday.
All right, Mikey, I'll see you Wednesday if the Lord's will and the creek don't rise. Thank you all for listening and watching and checking in with us. Don't forget, you can find us at YouTube. Just search Golden V Media, and you'll find us on YouTube. That's where we will be. I'll put a link up to it on our Facebook page, because we would prefer that you can go to YouTube, because we're trying to get followers and build our YouTube channel up so that we can
podcast.
So that we can podcast, so that we can do, I don't know, so that we can figure out a way to get paid for doing this.
And it looks like Sinclair's not going to have us on channel 4, so we're on our own.
I don't think you and I, Mikey, are Sinclair material.
No, Kid Rock, not us.
I don't think that we're, unfortunately, I think we're very, we're like a fine Woodinville wine. We're an acquired taste. But that's okay. I'm up with that.
I'm good with that.
Anyway, talking about a taste of wine, I actually took a sip out of the bottle on New Year's Eve.
What do you think?
Peace, love, and Manischewitz.
What a wine. I mean, what a wine.
What a wine.
See you, man.